Hi, and welcome to yet another video in the AI Terms Explained for C# developers. Today we're looking at prompt engineering, or just prompts. So prompt engineering, which is also called context engineering now because someone wants it to be fancy, I'd still call it prompt engineering, is the process of prompting the chat completion. Of course, the user itself can send a message in. What is the capital of France? What is one or the other thing. Users and developers talk to the AI, but there's often something called a system prompt, or some LLMs call them developer prompts, that instructs the AI with fixed rules on how to answer. And we can also give a lot of extra data, not just the user's question, but some information about the user, some information about what we have of RAG data, which is another topic you can see in a term for, that tells more about how the system should react. So one of my defaults when I need to test some AI is I tell it in its developer message, which I normally call it instead of system message, speak like a pirate. And you can see we can steer a lot by doing that. For example, if we just say, hello, how are you today? It answers back in private speak. In the same manner, and a little more serious, we can, for example, in the development, tell the system to speak back in French to the user. It might be a French chatbot. And if I ask something in English, I get an answer back in French. And the most important thing here is that the user message cannot override the developer message. So as you can see here, I'm trying to tell it, hey, I don't understand you, speak English. And no matter how I let the user steer the message, it will never go away from speaking French back. That is the promise of the developer message, and that's why it's so powerful. Another thing, as I mentioned, was RAG data. So here's a small sample from some of my AI samples up on GitHub that you can access as well, where I, for example, have a RAG-based system where I have a bunch of information about superheroes. And instead of just answering my question about superheroes, asking that question to, in this case, the agent here, I instead do a RAG search. So I get some kind of similarity search about the question, where I get some data about certain superheroes. And then I send that to the system before the real question. So it would be the same as the user said, here's everything I know about superheroes, and then asking a question about a superhero. But it's a RAG search, so it's similarity search, and finding the most relevant based on the system. So for example, if the question were about the fastest superhero, it will look for lightning fast, it will look for speed, it will look for every kind of things in the RAG, and then find the most relevant and answer the question back. But that is all prompt engineering or context engineering, because we're just giving the AI more information than it knows itself. So in my case, it was made up superheroes, and those superheroes would never know about. It would know about Spider-Man and Superman and so on, but it would not know about my collection of superheroes. And that was the reason why I needed to do it like this. And that is actually everything about prompt engineering. See you in the next one.